What the? Wait. What the? Who's your good kitty? Wait. What? What? Who are you?
You should try the GMK 67.
Ah!
What if I told you that this keyboard gets as cheap as $22? Well, that's what you guys keep telling me, and you will not stop. Howdy hey, I'm Hipyo Tech, and in my quest to find the best budget keyboards, I received a challenge. Why can't you build a budget keyboard using only AliExpress? No problem. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through how to buy your keyboard, keycaps, and switches on AliExpress, but most importantly, how to build them and make them talk. And wait, what's this? And why does it smell like Coca-Cola? Now, before I get into buying the keyboard, it is worth mentioning that this video is sponsored by AliExpress, who gave me an unlimited budget to spend on their website. However, they did not review this video. They tried to tell me what to say, but did not tell me what to say, and all of my thoughts are my own. However, if you do want to shop one of their biggest Black Friday sales of the year, then use the link down in the description and use the code that you see on screen to save. Now, in order to build a keyboard using only AliExpress, I mean, of course, we're gonna have to start with the keyboard. Do I need to do another video trying some of these like $10 keyboards? Leave a comment if you want to see that. Okay. I see one for 22. Oh, that's a different keyboard. So the GMK 67 is known for being really cheap. I found this one for 36 bucks, and they can get a little bit cheaper. Add to cart. So just about a week and a half after buying the keyboard, it arrived at my door. Now, granted, the switches and keycaps arrived a little bit later, but we'll talk about that later. Now, if the intro of this video made no sense to you, this is the GMK 67. It's a cheap budget keyboard, but it's one that seems to be very, very popular, and I can't figure out why. Now, as far as the accessories go, there's nothing special. It's a keycap and switch puller, granted one that I actually like, and a braided USB-C cable, which is absolutely standard. Now, after treating the box like the shipper treated it, let's take a look at the keyboard. Now, there's a lot of different layouts you can get your keyboard in, like 75%, full-sized, or 40%. But in this case, this is a 65% keyboard, so it keeps the arrow keys and F-row. It's also, wait, wireless for this cheap? Wait, RGB for this cheap? Now, from what you guys were telling me, this keyboard has gotten as cheap as $22 US, but I for one paid around 36, ignoring the coupons. The Epic Gamer RGB is an amazing touch. I also see stabilizers that are pre-installed, and this is a bare bones keyboard, so we're gonna have to be building it ourselves. British viewers, look away. Now, there are a few massive cons to this keyboard that I'll be talking about later, but at a glance, I do kind of see what you guys were saying. It's really, really pretty, especially in this blue color, so I definitely can't complain about that. It has a wireless 2.4 gigahertz dongle. I, for one, really like using wireless keyboards because NOLA will eat my cable, but Bluetooth is just kind of annoying, so seeing a 2.4 gigahertz option is very refreshing. Now, I'm not sure what the exact price will be when you're watching this, but AliExpress wanted me to mention that they're running a Black Friday sale when this video releases, so check the description, it could be even cheaper. Now, speaking of cheaper, I thought these stabilizers would absolutely suck and feel cheap and flimsy, but they were pleasantly surprising. And overall, I'm just trying to figure out what's actually wrong with this thing to make it so cheap. Like, the case is plastic, however, plastic keyboards have felt thocky. It's got adjustable feet, which is a feature that premium keyboards don't even have nowadays. Oh, yes, I'm an adjustable feet simp. And I really want to mod this thing, so it must have really good modability, right? Well, it's actually not that hollow, so they probably put some type of foam in there. Now, the board isn't heavy either, so it's probably not a silicone or anything, but I think I have something very silly in mind. Not silicone, though. But wait, I'm running into a problem. Where are the screws? How am I gonna get this thing open? I don't see any screws on the bottom. I don't see any screws on the side. There are no screws. So I tried a couple different tools, like these tweezers, which I do not recommend. I tried a Linus Tech Tip screwdriver, which I kind of recommend. It's very expensive though. And ultimately, I figured out that using my incredibly strong rock climber fingers to just pry the thing apart worked the best. For some reason, fingers work the best. That is what she said. And pulling this thing off reveals, wait, gaskets? What?
Are you seeing this, Jim? They got gaskets in my keyboard.
Now, this was something I was not expecting. Gaskets in a $30 keyboard. Granted, it could be a total gimmick, but still, if you're new to keyboard, gaskets are bits of foam that separate the plate from touching the case and can make it feel softer to type on or maybe a little bit more dampened. And wait, there's foam in the bottom case too. Now at this point, you're probably thinking, oh, Hipyo's just excited about this keyboard because he's sponsored. But AliExpress doesn't care what I say about these products, and heck, when I work with a keyboard brand, they don't even care what I say, they just really hope that their product is good enough. Now, I have a really devious idea of how I'm gonna mod this, but first, let's get into how I bought the switches. Now, for switches, there's so many options, and I don't really know which one is gonna be the best. Wait, they've got Morandi switches? What are these, midnight blue switches? $20 for 35, $35 for 70. Okay. Our keyboard is gonna have 67 switches, $35 for 70. It's actually cheaper to buy the Morandi switches, but I really wanna try these. If you're watching at home, buy the Morandi switches, I guess. Now, like I mentioned before, the Morandi switches would have probably been a bit better, but like a Texan at a furry convention, you gotta experiment a little bit. So I went with these Haimu linears. Now, they're made by Haimu, who made the Wuche Studios Morandi switches, and they feel very smooth. But there are some bent pins that you need to worry about, because if the pins arrive bent and you put them in your keyboard, you could pop out a hot swap socket, which would be very bad. But I am expecting these midnight blue switch linear 60 gram 5-pin SMD RGB MX. Anyways, I'm expecting the switches to be good. Now, Morandi switches are definitely the most popular switch on my channel. I know because you guys have bought like over 10,000 of them. So the fact that Haimu is making different colors of this same exact spec of switch is a very good thing. Just like Nola finally playing on her own, I get 2 minutes of peace and quiet. Thank God. Now, I forgot to record a clip of me doing this, but I also bought these kneadable or moldable erasers because of one of my good friends and mod, E1. This is the E1 mod, and he's pioneered this over the last 3 years? They cost like 10 bucks for this big multi-pack, and it smells like Coca-Cola. Why? Yeah, for some reason they're scented, so that's a fun little touch. Now, if you're new to keyboards and wondering why is this strange man filling his keyboard with strange objects? Howdy hey, welcome. The goal of this is to make the keyboard sound better and less hollow, maybe a little bit fuller, maybe a little bit deeper maybe. So that's why we fill keyboards with random objects like foam or the tape that I'm putting on the back of the PCB, like to make the keyboard a little bit poppier. Now, with budget keyboards like this, they usually cut corners in construction, so the board might sound okay without any type of dampened material or maybe tape or something like that, but I want it to sound incredible, so I'm adding all of this afterwards. I won't spoil it, but the E1 or Kneadable Eraser mod is pretty stinking good, so you're gonna have to stick around for the final typing test, all right? Provided I can get this thing closed. Please close. Oh, it closed. Now, I could do more to mod this thing, but I'm not going to get too crazy with it. I'm just going to install the switches with a little bit of magic. If you want to know how I do the magic, please leave a comment that says, hey, Hipyo, how do you do your magic? I would love to know that. How you do your magic, Hipyo, please tell me your secrets. And I'll get back to you in 43 business days. Now, with the switches in, it looks really pretty, but we're not going to be using it with just the switches, right? No, it's time to buy some keycaps, but oh, that RGB looks clean. Now, as far as keycaps go, this one is gonna be very tricky. We have clones. There's clones on AliExpress, just like there's clones on Amazon. I can't really tell you which one is gonna be the best, as there's so many different options and I haven't tried any of them at all, but I'm gonna go for something that seems relatively cheap. Let's go with this one, because a few reasons. It looks pretty nice. Like, I like the colors of this. It says piano music theme Filipino Japanese English keycaps. For $18, I have to try these keycaps. Now, the keycaps were the last thing to arrive, and they took 2 full weeks, but whoa, that is really impressive. As I mentioned before, I'm not sure if these are clone keycaps, so if they are, please tell me what clones they are, and I'll tell you sorry. But for $18 for a full kit, I'm kind of blown away with these. Let me just put them on real fast. Boom. Like, just for reference again, this whole build came in at $79.64, which does put it kind of close to the Womier SK71, which is a pre-built aluminum keyboard. So if you like that aesthetic, check out my video on that. As I mentioned before, there are a few problems, one of which are these stabilizers, which were pretty darn rattly. However, like any good Friday night, I was able to shoot up a little bit of lube with my Permatex dielectric grease and get them all lubed up so they sound nice and smooth. But I did not think I'd be getting this impressive of a keyboard from AliExpress, and I think I'm gonna have to check them out a little bit more in the future. Like, this keyboard feels very nice to type on. Very nice, like literally my editor who's editing this right now spent a solid 15 minutes testing out the keyboard, he can tell you. And with the E1 mod, this thing just feels and sounds really full for a budget keyboard, which is something I was not expecting. Oh, did I mention the gasket performance is still decent even after stuffing it with these rubber erasers? What? Now, the software basically sucks, so you don't get QMK or VIA or anything like that. You get Zuoya. However, when you're spending like $22 to $35 on a keyboard, I feel like your expectations should be low, and this surpassed my low expectations, which is a pretty good thing. This is definitely like the new GK61 in that it's not a perfect keyboard by any means, but it definitely gets the job done for a very cheap price. Speaking of a cheap price, check out the links down below for where you can find this board and all of the parts, and I'll be leaving you with the sound test. Please watch the whole thing to support my YouTube algorithm overlords. Bye.